Hello, everybody. Again, this is Saturday, first Saturday. We are doing this YTP live again on 2021. So, Happy New Year, everybody. And just to make things a little bit easier, I'm going to explain the YTP, the Young Titans platform that we have here today, that we are trying to reach the young professionals and all the coaches, mentors, and everybody who and the contributors who are helping. So, let us try to share some things that I wanted to share on this platform. While I share, okay, so what is YTP? Young Titans platform where young professionals and entrepreneurs join after their college graduation or when they are in the workforce to propel their career, get inspired, and become a part of a thriving community. If you are not a part of it, you are missing out. Please share this live. It's on Unext Leadership, the Facebook Unext Leadership, and also on YouTube, or the recording to your friends later, to your friends, family, and others. And like our page, subscribe our channel. Please send us live questions in the Facebook comments, and you can always email us to info at the letter U, nextleadership.com. So that would be info at unextleadership.com. Now, YTP fills in the gap from what you know and what you need to know for you to succeed. In short, YTP fills the gap between you and the leadership as young professionals embarking in the workforce. There are schools, colleges, and departments to start a career. On the other hand, they have leadership training and many technicals training in each corporation for their workforce. But what is out there for new graduates to excel, or the new workforce, or the new workers, corporate people who get into organizations? Find their best career, or once they start the career, where to go, how to grow, or how to switch. There's nothing existing today to fill in this gap. So we want your feedback, your involvement, and your help to grow this platform also. This is platform aims to help the young titans solidify your skills, career, and with the help of our volunteers, and we have coaches, mentors, and high achievers who are willing to help and grow this platform. Now, what are the things we are trying to do this year? So we will add few parts and details this year. Starting from next week, January 16th, Saturday, we will begin discussion and challenging conversation for you to grow. Our goal is to inspire you, and that grow means personal development, career growth, business growth, relationship growth, and many others. Now, before we get into it, let me just introduce few people. One of them is myself, Sheikh Rahman, founder of Unix Leadership, and started the Young Titans platform also with many help. But there's few of them who really contribute and devoted their time. Some of them are in the screen right now. As you see, Raj Kapoor, he is the guru of finance. He's not here today, but he is one of my guides, friends, partners, and mentors. He retired himself from a CFO of non-profit organization. He is a guru or finance and knows how to coach an organization, person, or anyone who needs to excel in the money matters. His courses on wealth gave me the pragmatic understanding of wealth and money. Then Ron and Marty Cooper. Ron here is today. They are retired U.S. Air Force and CIA officers. Now they are in their 52 years of their marriage and relationship, and they are relationship coaches. They serve valuables to others through their Cooper Culture organization. He spoke at YTP also last year, which is in our website or YouTube library that you can find. And he is a great friend and also another great mentor for me. And one of the other person that we have today is Dr. Halida, who currently she is a faculty of the International Health Department at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg Schools of Public Health. Her achievement and rewards will be very long, so we will be here for a long time if we want to just talk about that. So I'm going to skip that with the note that she is the award winner of United Nations Population in 2006. She is our advisor and inspiring faculty and mentor for the Young Titans platform community. We thank you, Dr. Halida. And then, of course, there are a few others. Jan Roberts from Netherlands originally. He's in South Africa now. Arti Moore, she is also in South Africa now, and she's a young leadership entrepreneur. At the same time, she owns few companies. And there's another person, Kamrul Hassan, who helped us get started and a big contributor. And today, of course, we have Jeff Avilis, a coach and a therapist, and helping people to grow as well for personal, different people personally as well as organization. He's here also as our guest moderator, guest co-host, and we are very excited for that. And now I'm actually going to give the platform to Ron to take over and invite our today's guest, special guest. And here is Ron.
Sheikh, thank you for this opportunity to interact with you and all the young professionals that are dealing with us, are looking with us today. Glynn Hodges is our featured speaker today. You will learn from Glynn that he has both life and business experience. Our mission is to help you, the young professional, transition, or let's say bridge the gap between what you know and what you need to know. That difference being we have experience in business, life. Glynn is a life performance coach. You may not be aware, but as you do become more aware of yourself, there are sometimes things that can keep us from operating, performing at our full potential. Glynn is one of those people who can help us through the various mindset challenges we have to help us perform at our full potential. He's also a leadership trainer, and he is one of the premier leaders who can help organizations perform at their top performance. And he's also an author, so he has much life and business experience that he can and will pass on to each of us. And we are all going to have the opportunity to learn from Glynn. So Glynn, come join us, and we are all looking forward to sharing your life experience and how we can become better people.
Glynn, I think you are muted.
How about this? Is that a little better? Good. All right, young Titans, it's absolutely an honor to be with you today. Sheikh, thank you so much for inviting me. And Ron, thank you for the introduction. I'll have to say that today is probably one of the most different teaching sessions, and I want to call it a teaching session and maybe a conversation that we'll have. And I don't think I've ever given so much thought to a conversation like this. But, you know, you folks are very, very important people. You are the future leaders of this world. We have not just people from the United States, but from people around the globe. So what I want to share with you is some of the things that I just wish that someone had sat me down and shared with me when I was your age. There's so many things I want to teach you, and each one of the golden nuggets I'll share with you today, I could spend a half day. I wish we had 4 hours today. We could really get warmed up to take it into a 2 or 3 day teaching session. I wanted to tell you about networking because networking is so important. Another friend and I built a networking organization of probably 1,200 people. We would have 200 and 300 people that would show up at events. And I learned that people didn't know how to network. It didn't matter their ages. They didn't know how to network. So I'm not going to share that today, but that's something, it's a skill that you need to learn. I grew up in a very rural setting. The point being, it matters not where you're from. It matters not the socioeconomic environment that you grew up in. My father was a third generation farmer. It was a very rural setting in middle Georgia, an agrarian community. Like I said, my father was a third generation farmer. I will say this, I love the freedom of the farm, but I love riding my horse across the pastures and open fields far more than I enjoyed working on the farm. So at a very early age, I determined that I didn't want to be a farmer. Kind of upset my dad, but neither here nor there. One of the things that he insisted on was that I get a college education. Started out wanting to be a doctor, a surgeon, but to this day, I still haven't figured it out, but it hadn't bothered me enough to investigate. But I dropped out of pre-med when I was in junior college because I discovered that physics just wasn't my game. And unless I was going to be an orthopedic surgeon, I still to this day can't understand why physics is important to be part of the pre-med curriculum. There are several nuggets that I'm going to share with you today that I think are really important, but I want to share them in such a way because I think these events are nuggets are so important that I don't want you to ever forget them. They have the potential to totally change your life. But change only occurs if you comprehend something and if you take action on it, which involves goal setting, which I would love to get into goal setting today, which ties in so beautifully with what we're going to talk about. But let's get into these golden nuggets. Some of you would debate the priority of them, and each of them can stand on their own, but yet they're integrally related. They're very much related. But the first golden nugget that I want to share with you is the fact that you need to understand exactly who you are. But before we get into that, I want you to understand something, that you are special. You are special. What you went through to be born is absolutely amazing. You're big guys and gals now, so you know about sex. It required a sperm to unite with an egg in order for you to be born. But have you ever thought about what happened in order for that sperm to meet that egg? It goes from the vagina and has to work its way up the fallopian tube, which is very acidic. Many of the sperm die off. But finally, one successfully attaches to the egg and is able to penetrate that membrane, resulting in an embryo. Then, you after 9 months, you're born. And then what happens? You wake up into bright lights. A doctor may slap you on the back to get you to breathing, may cram his hand down your throat to pull out mucus or whatever so that you can breathe freely. And it's a frightening experience. It's frightening. So here you are, you're born a winner. You learned how to overcome adversity right there at a very early age, but you came into an adverse environment. There you left that comfort of your mother's womb where every need was met. It was warm. You ate anytime you want to. You had that umbilical cord there, but that's cut. And now you have to survive on your own. So although in that agrarian community I was brought up in, where there was nothing, it was just the little grammar school that was in my Uncle Dolly's cornfield. And then there were two churches, a Methodist church and a Baptist church, neither of which could afford a full-time minister. So on first and third Sundays, everyone went to the Methodist church. And on the second and fourth, they all went to the Baptist church. So that was the entire entertainment, the church, and then the school. I learned the 23rd Psalm and Psalm 100 in the first and second grade. And by the way, that little community was so small, I went through the first 4 grades and only had 2 teachers. We had 2 teachers per classroom. Pretty unique, but it was a very special experience. So unlike today, we started out with the Pledge of Allegiance. We recited either the 23rd song or Psalm 100, and then we ended with the Lord's Prayer. And then that's where the way our day began. So yes, I believe in God, but I think we're on common ground in that we all believe in that we have a supreme being, a creator. So I'm going to use creator and God interchangeably today. So yes, being brought up in church, I was taught right and wrong or whatever, but no one ever sat down and talked with me about core values. Glynn, who are you? What do you stand for? Glynn, what will your legacy be? Yeah. You're young. You're a young titan. Maybe you're just out of college or just about to graduate from college, but you need to think about your legacy. What will people remember you for? What will your tombstone say? What do your friends say about you when you're not around? Do they have positive things to say about you or negative things about you to say about you? It is all based on something we'll talk more about today called attitude and the way we think. We're going to talk a lot about thinking today. And so this all ties in with your core values. And I bring it up first as the first golden nugget. And if you don't remember anything else, my goal today is to share the things with you, as I said before, that have the ability to change your life. And I want to present it in such a way that you will never, ever forget it. You won't remember everything, but most everything I'm going to share with you today, although it ties in, it can stand by itself. So my goal is for you to remember 2 or 3 things today. If you remembered 4 or 5, that'll be good. But I challenge you to take some notes because some of this stuff is good. I paid thousands of dollars to learn this, probably hundreds of thousands over the years to learn some of the things that I'm going to teach with you to you today. Again, your values. What do you stand for? Would you say, well, Glynn, now what are these values? Well, some examples. And I challenge you to write some of these down, think about them, and then by the end of next week, say, look, these are my values. I'm going to own them. When people see me, they will automatically understand these values. And how will they? They will understand them based on the things you say and the things you do. Ooh, I'm going to throw in a little extra gold now. You ready? You remember this. And if you'll think back now to your childhood. And have you ever caught yourself in a situation where you made a response to someone and you said, my goodness, that sounded just like my dad. That sounded just like my mom. People do what people see. That's just kind of an extra bonus I'm throwing in today. Remember it. And it is so important, so important once you have children, because you are the role model for those children, just like your parents were, or your neighbor, or your uncle, or your anyone that you spent a large amount of time with you to this day is influencing the things you do, the things you say, the way you react to things. I'll throw in another little golden nugget here, and this isn't one of my big ones. Well, wait a minute. We'll get back to it in a minute. Let's get back to the values. Accountability. Learn to be accountable. Think about diversity, independence. And one of the things, back to diversity with your age group, you grew up. Diversity was part of your environment. That's a part of your life. For those of you in the United States of America, as a Gen Z, when by the time you were old enough to really be aware of what was going on politically and whatever, America had the first African American president they had ever had in the existence of America. So diversity has been a part of your life. For those of us that grew up in isolated environments like myself, it was not. I had to adapt. I had to change. And now, we're all different. We'll talk more about that today, later. We have different skin color. We have different eyes. We have different shaped ears. Some of us are tall, some are short, some are a little chubby. We're all different. But you know what? We're all the same on the inside. The only difference is the values we have and the way we respond, the way we act. Teamwork, that's another good value to look at. Change, faith, loyalty, competency, having fun. All fun and all work and no play makes Shake a dull guy. Or makes Ron a dull guy. We've got to learn to have fun. Fun needs to be a part of your life. You need to think of customer satisfaction. You need to think of honesty. Do unto others as they would do unto you. 5 of the values, for example, the National College Athletic Association has decided on are integrity, respect, responsibility, sportsmanship, and servant leadership. Now, that's a good one. For those of you that didn't have the pleasure to hear Jay Johnson for our last Young Titans platform teaching event, go back and listen to it. That is pure gold. It's the best presentation I've heard on servant leadership. And I know where a lot of that material came, and I'll put it up against anything that our friend and mentor, John Maxwell, has taught. Jay did an absolutely amazing job there. So, as I mentioned earlier, your Creator created you very special. He designed, and I love the way that the old Southern minister said it. He said, God made you very special, and he don't make no mistakes. I can hear my old buddy Zig Ziglar saying it in such an eloquent way as he would just walk across the stage and he'd say, you were designed for accomplishment, engineered for success, and endowed with the seeds of greatness. Friend, you were. I guarantee you were. And I'm going to share with you some things that will help you to understand that. So as we move along, let's talk about that second golden nugget. Now, the first one, as I said before, is going to influence all the others. It will influence everything you do, every decision you make, every goal you set, the reaction to everything you come up against. Adversity is one of them. And trust me, life is sprinkled with it, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more in a few minutes. The first golden nugget, the second golden nugget I want to share with you has to do with the power of the mind. It is so powerful. Napoleon Hill said, "Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve." There's another thing often he says, if you have a positive mental attitude. And we're going to talk more about attitude in a little bit. But just to illustrate the power of the mind, the story's told of old Joe. He was down in the South Texas rail yard. Hello? Hello? Yes. Are we okay? I heard someone.
Yeah, we're good, Glynn.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, beautiful. Please keep going.
Old Joe was kind of the low man on the totem pole down in South Texas. It was a hot, sultry day. Joe was one of those that kind of worked for the check. He wasn't really interested in how good a job he did. He just wanted the highlight of his day was 5 o'clock when he could punch out. So this particular day, it was so hot. Joe was perspiring. He was wiping his brow, and he walked over to the shed where they kept a ice water container, and he got a cup and he filled it full of that cold ice water. He drank some, then he poured it on his bandana he had, and he wiped his brow. Then he took it and he put it around his neck because it was cool. And as he was doing it, he looked. His job was to wipe out the rail cars, to clean them out, sweep them out. And he saw that they had just pulled in a refrigerated car on a sidetrack. He said, it's 4:30. Here we've got a refrigerated car. I know where I'm going to spend my last 30 minutes. So old Joe walks over to the rail car. He opens the door. He flips on the light switch. He closes the door because he doesn't dare want to allow the cool, fresh air in there to get out. It felt so good. And he thought he was just so lucky. He looked over and saw some cardboard boxes. He stacked them up over next to the door so he could take them out. He took his broom and he swept from one side to the other, put it in a pile, swept it over near the door. Then he was able to take one of the pieces of cardboard, use it as a dustpan, sweep it up on the dustpan, on another piece of cardboard so that he could just dump it out when he left. He finished, he looked, he said, it's 10 minutes till 5. I can kill that much time just walking to the time clock. So even though it was hot and he could have walked it in 3 minutes, you can see Joe had clocking out on his mind. So he goes to open the door, and the door doesn't open. He pulled on it. He even took his foot, and he put it up against the wall, and he tugged on the door. It wouldn't move. Joe panicked. He knew that there was no second shift working that night. If he didn't get out, he would spend the night there. He beat on the door. This is Joe. This is Joe. Help me. Help me. I can't get out. He did it until he was totally exhausted. His voice was gone. He knew that he was doomed. He could not get out. He would spend the night there. His mind began to go wild. He decided he would cover up using the cardboard for insulation and the newspaper. So he got it, unfolded it, put it over him, covered up to try to stay warm. Later, he got a pen from his pocket and he got out a piece of paper and he started to write some. The next morning at 7:30, a technician opened the door to the rail car, flipped on the light, And there was old Joe lying on the floor. Joe, are you all right? No, Joe didn't move. He checked his pulse. There was no pulse. Joe was dead. Had all the signs of a man that had frozen to death. The technician called for help, and in the meantime, he went back to the recording instrument that was over the refrigeration unit, because the reason he was there, he was told that the refrigeration unit was malfunctioning. He checked the recording device. The temperature was 39 degrees. Cold? Uncomfortable? Yeah. Cold enough to freeze to death? No. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. Whether it's a positive mental attitude or a negative mental attitude, Joe went to sleep fully realizing and visualizing that he was going to freeze to death. So guess what? He froze to death. We need to be careful about our thoughts. This leads us to golden nugget number 3, which is a thought. A thought. Thoughts are powerful. Here, Joe was playing a mental movie, but yet he had a thought. So we could integrate these, but still, I want to include them separately. Thoughts, again, they are so powerful. So I want it to be a golden nugget all by itself. But I share these, shall we say, in chunks, because I'm a simple-minded guy. Remember, I'm just a country boy. And I'm not as smart as some of you. And I've learned that we learn in chunks. We either comprehend it or we don't. In some way or another, we isolate it by chunks. So although related, here's another chunk, and we'll call it a nugget of gold, the power of the thought. Many of you were not old enough to remember President John F. Kennedy. He was one of the youngest presidents at that time that had ever been inaugurated in the United States of America. You've probably heard a statement of his that has been quoted many times. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Ask not what your country can do for you. I mean, there's such a great lesson within this. And you know, this is kind of what Shake is demonstrating and with the Young Titans platform. He is giving without expectations. And so here, John Fitzgerald Kennedy asked people to give, not to ask, but to give. And we had people that joined the Peace Corps and continue to be a part of it all over the world. And it all began with one thought, one statement. You know, he made another statement. In the 1960s, he planted a thought. Early in the 1960s, he went in office in 1961, served from 61 until November of 63 when he was assassinated. And on May 25th of 1961, President Kennedy announced before a very special joint session of Congress the dramatic and ambitious goal of what? Doing something that most people considered impossible. You know what that was? He said, I visualize a man walking on the moon. I visualize a man walking on the moon. He planted that seed. The goals were set. NASA began to work. All of our best rocket scientists began to work. And 8 years later, on July 20th, 1969, John F. Kennedy's thought became a reality. When Apollo 11 landed on the moon and Commander Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin actually stepped off the lunar module ladder and walked on the moon. For 3 hours, they walked around. They gathered dirt, as we would call it, and other particles as samples so that they could be analyzed. Henry Ford planted a thought. Well, he almost gave them a command to his engineers. At that time, they were told that there was absolutely impossible to cast 8 cylinders in one block in a gasoline engine. They kept saying, no, it can't be done. They'd come back and he'd say, we can't do it. And he said, go back and don't come back until you do. And they did. They did. You know, many of you have been to Disneyland or Disney World, created by Walt Disney, one of the most creative people that has ever walked this earth, I think. And after Disneyland was created down in Orlando, Florida, which was after Walt's death, when it was started and completed, and a gentleman walked up to the CEO of Disney and said, it's a shame that Walt didn't live to see this. He said, oh, but he did. If Walt hadn't seen it, it wouldn't be here. All we did was create the images that he had in his mind, that he had shared with us. It all began with a thought. Thoughts, as Napoleon Hill says, thoughts become things. Now, let's get into adversity number 4. Golden nugget number 4, rather, which deals with adversity. Adversities are just a part of life. Friend, I can tell you firsthand, show me the man or the woman that can tell me that they have never, ever dealt with adversity, and I'll show you a man or woman that you don't want to be your friend. In fact, to put it bluntly, pardon my French, but run like hell, because they're dishonest people. They're dishonest people. Adversity is a part of life. The real key to it is to learn how to deal with it. Do you know you can actually take an adversity and turn it into an advantage? I love the way that the mentor and friend of several of us on this platform, what he says, you know, a loss is not a loss unless you fail to win. You should always fail forward. Fail forward. John taught us a great lesson about adversity when the pandemic first hit earlier in 2020. You know, there was a young boy that was 10 years old. He was in a terrible automobile accident. It resulted in them having to amputate his left arm. But, you know, he always wanted to learn judo and had always told his parents he wanted to, but he just never, ever signed up for judo lessons. He found a very wise, respected judo instructor. He signed up for the classes, and after 4 months, he asked the judo instructor, why is it that you have only taught me one move? He says, that's the only move you'll ever need. Well, a few more weeks later, after continuously working with his mentor and his teacher, his judo instructor took him to his first judo tournament. He won the first match easily. The second one, he struggled a little more. The third was even more difficult. The fourth one, well, that's where the real story comes. It was so brutal. He was losing. He had a bloody nose. The referees, or whatever they call them, called timeout, went over and talked to the wise judo instructor and says, we need to call this match and we need to award it to your student's opponent. He said, no, I insist that we continue. They did. Finally, the young boy pinned his opponent. They were driving home that afternoon, and they went through each of the matches that the young boy participated in. They discovered what he did right, what he did wrong. And after the instructor had completed, finally the young boy asked his instructor, "Why is it, after all these months, you still only teach me one move?" He said, "As I told you before, young man, that is the only move that you will ever need. You know, the only defense for that move is for your opponent to grab your left arm." Pretty difficult for his opponent to grab his left arm since it was amputated. So here's another golden nugget within the nugget, shall we say. I look at some of this as almonds that have chocolate on the outside. You know, it gets gooder and gooder sometimes. So, you know, what you can think is a liability or an adversity can be your greatest asset. So I don't care. Maybe you have a disability. Maybe you don't. Maybe you feel someone's smarter than you. The key to it is for you to use your gifts you have and to learn what those gifts are. Learn what they are. I had the privilege of meeting Bonnie St. John several years ago. If you're not familiar with her, she was the first African American to win medals in the Winter Paralympics. She won both silver and bronze. I think there were 2 bronze and 1 silver. And she discovered the event that in the event she won the silver in, she fell, which she was convinced was a reason that she didn't win that one. She later discovered that the person that won the gold medal also fell. She said, "You know, I reckon the lesson is here, you've got to be the faster getter-upper." So you're going to fail. You're going to be knocked down. The key to it is to brush yourself off and get up. I know about failure. I often tell people about the longest walk I've ever had in my life. That was the walk from my mailbox back to my house. I opened the letter at the mailbox, which said, "We're foreclosing on your house." Tears ran down my eyes. You're something I'd worked for all my life. It was about to be taken away. But you know what? I'm talking from that house today. I'm in my office at that house. I didn't let it get me down. I picked myself up by my bootstraps and I kept going. You know, you're going to meet bullies in life. You met bullies maybe when you were in grammar school. Maybe you know some now. They're bullies on the social media. I learned one of the greatest stories from one of my best friends. I met Ole in Chicago. You know, he was just such an amazing guy. His personality was so warm. I felt as though I'd known him all his life. I learned that Ole had been bullied early in his 5th grade year. One morning as he was walking across the playground, he inadvertently crossed the path of Dale, the schoolyard bully. Now, feeling a little braver than normal that day, Ole decided to stand his ground, but not without its consequences. Ole got up, brushed the dirt from his clothes, and with his head hung low, he walked into school. The school bell rang that afternoon, and as he was leaving the building, one of his friends advised him where Dale was, thinking he would most definitely take an alternate path. But not this day. Ole walked directly toward Dale. As he approached Dale, he very carefully and cautiously extended his right hand and said, Dale, can we just be friends? I don't want to be afraid of you all year long. I said, my name is Ole. And he just stood there. The seconds seemed like hours to this little fifth grader as he stood there trying to appear to be calm on the outside. You can imagine his feelings inside. A few months back, I was talking to Ole on the cell phone. Hi, Glynn, how are you? I said, just great. He said, Glynn, I just purchased a sandwich from my favorite straight vendor, and I'd love to catch up, learn about the kids and Barbara and what you're doing. If you don't mind if I nibble on my sandwich while I walk toward my next meeting. And so we chatted a little bit. In a few minutes, he laughingly interrupted me and he said, Glynn, I've just arrived at a very busy intersection and it might be pushing my luck if I cross the street talking on a cell phone, nibbling on a sandwich. I had a huge grin on my face. You see, my friend Ole walks with the aid of a long white cane. Ole's been blind since birth. In spite of this, Ole went on to earn his Juris Doctorate degree and got a position with the U.S. Department of Justice, where he served there as an attorney for many years and is currently with the U.S. Department of Education. And he is a two-time presidential appointee. I learned so much from Ole, but Ole taught me a basic life lesson. Meet your fears head on. And even though you may have a disability, don't let that hold you back. Go on and pursue your dreams. Don't ever forget it. So I don't care what you're dealing with, whether if you've had one arm amputated, if you've lost a leg like Bonnie St. John did at an early age, or if you're blind. There's no excuse. You were endowed with greatness. You were endowed with success, engineered for accomplishment, and endowed with the seeds of greatness by your Creator. There's nothing in this life you can't do if you want to bad enough. Take an adversity and they will come to you. I promise you, life will throw you a curveball when you least suspect it. The key to it is you've got to learn what to do when that curveball is thrown your way. As you're setting goals, I wish we had time to get into how to set goals. But when you're setting your goals, always have a plan A, B, and C, and think of all the things that could happen that would divert you from achieving your worthy goal. Again, those goals need to be congruent with your core values, as well as how you achieve those goals and what you do when adversity strikes. Stay with those core values. They will serve you well the rest of your life. Now, I think we've got enough time. I promised for those of you that showed up today, I was going to share with you a secret that I share with my coaching clients that pay me a lot of money. You take the things that I have taught you today, and I hope that you have picked up on some of those things and that you will remember them. Remember your core values. Decide who you really are. Think about your thoughts. Remember how powerful they are. Remember that you're going to have to overcome adversity. And remember how powerful your mind is. And so with talking about the power of the mind, that ties right in with the secret that will make you earn more money and accomplish things that others would think are absolutely impossible. As I said, using Zig Ziglar's quote, which I know for fact is true if you want it to be, you were engineered for success and you were designed for accomplishment. Your creator gave you a tool within that will allow you to accomplish anything you want to. Within you is a lion. Now, this lion is, you question, you have a lion within me? Let me ask you this. When was the last time you were cut off in traffic? Were you ever tempted to maybe say a few words that you wouldn't say in church or Sunday school? Were you tempted to maybe use a little sign language? Well, how about that? Yeah, you've got that lion within you. There are two lions there. There's the positive one and the negative one. The one that is dominant, as the old Indian said, talking to his grandson, is the one you feed. So you want to program that positive lion. That's what you want to do. The lion, just like you, I've said we all have different colored skin. We have different ear shapes. We have different colored eyes. We have different hair colors. Some have curly hair, some have straight hair. Some of us are tall, some of us are short, some are dumpy, but we're all similar on the inside. Likewise, the lion is different from any other animal in the animal kingdom. You know what? Some of us are smarter than others. Likewise, the lion is not as smart as the elephant. It's not as fast as the cheetah. It is certainly not as big as the hippopotamus. But what is the lion known as? Okay, mentors, unmute. What is the lion known as? When people say the lion, what do you think of?
King, the king of the jungle.
King of the jungle, that's right. A+ for you there, Shay. The lion is the king of the jungle. Now, why is the lion the king of the jungle? He's not the smartest, like each of us. I'm certainly not the smartest one here today. I'm probably the dumbest one. But the lion is not the smartest. He's not the biggest. He's not as tall as the giraffe, but yet he's the king of the jungle. Why? One simple thing, one word describes it. It's his attitude. His attitude. When the elephant sees the lion, even though the elephant is far smarter than the lion, what does the elephant think? King of the jungle. Now, what does the king of the jungle think when he looks at the elephant? Lunch. I'll kill him. I'll eat him one little piece at a time, which is another lesson within a lesson. How do you solve a great big old problem? You chop it up into little pieces, just like you eat an elephant. So the unique thing about this lion is that not only can you tame it like a wild lion that you've seen at the circuses or maybe on movies or whatever, this lion that your creator equipped you with, you can program it just like you can this smartphone. You can program it just like you can the GPS on your car. You program this to go where you want to go. You set that goal, that great big old dream, and then you program your lion within, just like you do this smartphone. How do you program it? You tell it what you want it to do. What you do is you have to, first of all, just like defining your core values, with those in mind, you have to sit down and you write a little paragraph describing where it is you want to be as though you're already there. Maybe you want to work from an exotic island in the Caribbean. So what you want to do is to write a statement implementing all of the 5 senses. describing, what it's like being there, what it's like as you feel the sand beneath your feet, as you walk along the shoreline, as you see the surf coming in, the clear blue waters, the fish that are swimming, frantically trying to swim back out rather than being washed onto the beach. You feel the sun on your back. You enjoy your favorite beverage. You grasp the hand of that loved one that maybe is with you. You smell the salt air. All of this helps in programming that lion within. That lion within, the psychologist would describe as your subconscious mind. It matters not. But you can relate to it when I told you about that negative lion within, that bad lion, that lion that loses its temper because you've all done it. So it's there. Then what we do, this is what I have my clients do. After they write this paragraph and describing what it's like, visualizing the X number of dollars that are in their, not only their checking account, but in their savings account and in their investment portfolio. They describe how they feel and in this environment that they're living in. And, many of my clients are like me. I will never, ever retire. I do what I love. If you love what you do and do what you love, you'll have success your whole life through. I believe that with all my heart. The day I can't help another human being in their journey of life is the day I stop dying. The day I stop learning is the day that I am dying. I love learning. I love helping other people along this journey. Okay, we've written the paragraph. We've got it refined just like we want, and it's congruent with our core values. Then we begin to visualize this. We get to where we can close our eyes and we can see this as though we're sitting in a largest theater you've ever been, a big IMAX theater, the biggest screen you've ever seen, and you've got a front row seat, and it's your movie. You do this and do this and do this so that you can just click your finger and you can snap your finger and play that movie. I get my clients to also take their phone. They can use the video or they can just use the audio. And to repeat that paragraph they've written describing what it's like as though they have already achieved their goal. Why'd I have them do that? Friends, what did we say about adversity? There are going to be those days that elephant dung and everything else seems to fall from the sky. And what's even worse is when you step in it. It's messy and it's stinky, but it's part of life. But if you've got that where you have shared it with an upbeat voice, with enthusiasm, that where you truly believe that you're already there, it will change your mindset. It will change your attitude at the time. And we're going to touch on that again in a few minutes. Attitude. We've mentioned it several times. But it will help to reinforce it in your mind. I have my clients to do this 3 times a day. Once when they first get up in the morning. Secondly, sometime during the middle of the day. And then again before they go to bed. But also, if there's any way possible to do it some way, mid-afternoon. This embeds it in your mind. It helps you to look beyond the manure that may be coming at you that particular day when maybe you have been on the ski slopes and you fail. It reminds you to be the faster getter up, because the sooner you get back in the race, if Bonnie St. Cloud hadn't gotten back up, she wouldn't have gotten that silver medal and probably wouldn't have gotten the bronze. Well, but she got up. But she learned the importance also of being the faster getter-upper. I mentioned attitude. Your attitude will determine how high you go in life. If any of you that know anything about airplanes, the altitude of an airplane is determined by the attitude that the pilot sets. The attitude is the relationship between the nose of the plane and the horizon. If the tip of the nose is raised, it goes up. If it goes below the horizon, it goes down. How many successful people have you ever seen that are always looking down? How many? I don't know of many. The only thing that could be accomplished years back is looking down is occasionally someone might drop a penny or dime or a quarter or something like that. But no one uses cash anymore. So what's the value of looking down? You need to look up. You need to have lofty goals. I teach my clients to establish great big old goals, because if you miss the moon, you still land among the stars. If you'll take some of the things that I've incorporated today, and I hope you took a few notes. I don't want you to believe what I'm telling me. What I have told you. I don't want you to believe it. I want you to test it. What I have shared with you has been tested time and time and time again. They are laws. You're not going to find it in a textbook as a law of life, but they are laws. A law is something that will live the test of time. These are laws. Part of the visualization and whatever is tied in with something that was discussed in a book that was very famous, still very popular. They sell a lot of them still. It's called The Secret. The Secret. There they talk about the law of attraction. I experienced the law of attraction before I ever knew what the law of attraction was. When I changed my major, actually changed my major in junior college. I then went on to University of Georgia, and that was my junior year. I decided that I wanted to get a part-time job. I felt very guilty. I didn't come from a wealthy family. I was fortunate enough. They paid for my tuition. They paid for my frat dues and provided me with a car and most things I need. But I felt real guilty because, as my dad always said, Glynn, you've got a beer pocketbook, but champagne taste. I didn't like to take my dates to just any restaurant. I like to go to the 4 and the 5-star restaurants. Now, I never did that on my dad's credit card. Although I will tell you about one thing I did with a credit card. I'll tell you in a few minutes if you'll remind me. But anyway, so I said, I'm going to get a part-time job. Well, now, those of you that are students, you know that it's fairly competitive in a college town to get a part-time job. There are those there, and those that really want them will find one. I didn't want just any job. I said, if I'm going to go get a job, I want to go where I know I can meet people, because I don't know anyone in Athens, Georgia. I was raised about 130 miles south of there. And so I thought, and I said, aha, I'm going to go out to the Athens Country Club in Athens, Georgia. That's the home of the University of Georgia. I did. I went out. I found the office and discovered who the general manager was of the club. I can't remember his last name. I remember his first name was Vernon. Anyway, I told Vernon I understood he was manager of the club, and I was looking for a job, but I didn't want a dishwashing job. He said, well, have you ever waited tables? I said, no, but I can learn. Sounds good. Anyway, he introduced me to a fellow Tate, a very distinguished African-American man that to this day is a good friend of mine. He later went on to become the manager of the Cherokee Country Club in Athens, Georgia. Pretty elite club. Anyway, he taught me the manners required of a waiter. I had to wear tux. I loved it. And I never will forget the last night that I waited on tables. My tips were like $275. Now that was in 1968. You added up, that was a lot of money. If you do a present worth analysis on it, a lot of you would take that for one night now if you're in school. But I sometimes would work the grill downstairs, which was informal during the afternoons. And this was mostly used by the golfers. I got to meet a lot of people there. I met the club golf pro there. He asked me if I'd run the golf club. So sure, I'm not a golfer, but I learned a little bit about golf. I learned to play golf, and I never will forget the first time I went out to play my first round of golf. Some way or another, the word got out, Glynn's playing golf today. It was like being at the Masters, me out there on the first tee. I got so nervous. What I had learned, felt most confident with was a 2-wood. So I teed off with a 2-wood. I had a good short drive. It was good. I made it. But anyway, I'll move on from that. I just got to notice that we're just about to run out of time here. So I'll wrap it up. Folks, make sure that you remember your core values, the fact that the nuggets that I mentioned to you, and the fact that they are all intertwined. And back to what I was about to say, it led into the law of attraction. I met one other individual there after I started managing the golf shop. That resulted in me getting a position with a Fortune 50 100, Fortune 50 company, of which I had no resume. I never asked for it. I had been working for 2 weeks before I got a call from HR saying that I needed to fill out an application for employment if I wanted to get paid, and I wanted insurance. I love you. I believe in each and every one of you. I'm sorry I took so much time, but I had so much I wanted to share. I believe in each and every one of you. God bless you. And remember, your day will be just as good as you visualize it. Thank you so much, Shake.
Oh my goodness, yeah, Glynn, you rock the floor. It's completely, there is no question. If there was an audience in front of us, it was face to face in a regular time outside of COVID time, you would see the applause and people, standing up and stuff, I'm sure. But it is full of nuggets. It's not full nuggets. That's all I can say. I mean, at some point I had to stop writing because I thought it's worth listening to it again. But since we only have few minutes time, I would just open the floor to Jeff, Ron, and Dr. Halida to see if they want to add anything or any last minute questions to you or anything like that. Thank you.
Glynn, I want to thank you for being very conversational and relatable. Your topic of values is very timely. We probably don't have enough time to delve into it, but I'm very interested in knowing your thoughts about those of us who might say, I understand exactly what you're saying, but I am uncertain what my values are, what they should be. Is there a list of values I should have, or is it a matter of discerning what my values are and then maybe trying to determine if those values are correct and if I need to, I'll use the term, up-level those values?
Well, some of it to me, I think, is just basic. First of all, which ties in with the goal. Your value should be, you should never, ever promote something that would benefit only you. If it benefits you, that's okay, but you want it to benefit others, and it's certainly not in any way hurt another human being. So what's the golden rule? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So, you know, if you have others in mind with any of your values, it seems to always work out. You know, looking at servant leadership that we talked about there, looking at there's just so many things, but it all ties in with really not being selfish. I don't know. Does that kind of, you know, courage? Yeah, that's kind of individual. But one of the values I mentioned was teamwork. One is faith. You know, what do you believe in? And they're all interrelated. Fun, that's good. You need to have fun, but not at the expense of someone else. You need to have, if you're in business, you need to make sure your customers are happy. And one of the greatest examples of a well-run company, I think, John Maxwell talks about it a lot. And I have good friends that are owners of Chick-fil-A's, or what do they call them, partners of Chick-fil-A, the company created by Truett Cathy, which they do everything they can to please the customer. The customer is king. How can I help you? Is there something else that we could do? I ordered one time, didn't order what I thought. And I went back up and I said, you didn't give me what I ordered. They said, we're so sorry. They gave me what I ordered. I came back and Barbara said, why did you go up there? And I said, well, they didn't give me what I ordered. She said, oh, but they did. I went back up and I said, I'm so sorry. My wife said that you gave me exactly what I ordered. You know, can I please pay you? No. So that is truly a good servant attitude. Did we lose Shake?
No, I'm here. I'm listening and waiting for others to, you know, maybe do a little conversation or something with a couple of minutes left.
And I actually had a quick question. How often do you think people should dedicate towards goal planning? Because I often seen that a lot of people don't accomplish their goals because they don't spend a significant amount of time writing them out or strategizing them.
Well, it's interesting. All the studies show that only about 5% of the people in the world have goals, and a smaller percentage even write them down. But the real key to it, and not only in writing those goals down, but reviewing them on a regular basis. And oftentimes I have to adjust my goals. Maybe the great big goals there, but sometimes I may have to adjust, as much as anything, the action steps in achieving those goals, because sometimes those adversities slip in and we have to figure out another way to go about achieving that goal.
Wonderful. Dr. Halida, you had anything?
I think you're muted, Dr. Halida, or I can't hear you.
So I'm complimenting for this exciting lecture. I mean, it was so much from your own understanding and own life. As we are talking about the goal setting, you know, what are the basic requirements before you set your goal for yourself? You know, it's not just write it down something, but there must be some more learning about yourself, learning about where do you fit in, how do you set your goal, and what are the requirements?
Well, basically, you know, it's a matter of where is it I want to go? What do I want to accomplish? And then, even though it may seem absolutely outlandish, write it down and then determine what you've got to do in order to get there. You set a goal of getting your PhD. You knew certain things you had to do and in a timely order. And you knew that it was all going to culminate with, your dissertation, which the oral is not a whole lot of fun.
Yes, of course.
But you knew going in you had to do it. So from the very beginning day that you started to work on your PhD, you had the end in mind, preparing for your dissertation. Right?
Wonderful.
Right. Very well. Yeah.
Yeah, Glenn, just wanted to let you know that we really thank you for your time and the things that you revealed. And there are many things that you mentioned, and it was very quick for me. And I know there are lots of nuggets and lots of things inside, and people who will go back and listen to it, I think over again, they will get a lot out of it. That's for sure. But I know it's not enough, and you have a lot in your mind to express also. So definitely, we'll bring you again in the platform, and we definitely can have a discussion. In fact, next week we're planning to have a great discussion again. And this year, definitely, as we are, and we are honored that you are our first speaker of this year, 2021. So thank you for that. And we have great plans for this year. And we've been talking internally with different people and our advisors and all the gurus and mentors that we have. So thankful for that. And thank you for being here. But this platform is to help the young professional with the ending things. That all I can say is that this is to help that young professionals, young titans, to do what they want to do and to mentor and coach them to get to their pinnacle. But at the same time, we would like to get their opinion, their survey, their input. So your input, so we can make it better. At the same time, any mentors or anybody that you would like us to get them involved in this platform, we can do that too. So there are different things that we're going to try and implement this year. So one of them is the Facebook secret group or Facebook group that's we're going to start in February. And definitely a few helping hands and helping people and contributors we have, Ron, Glenn, Dr. Halida, Raj, and few others, and as well as Jeff today. As thank you for being here as a guest moderator, and thank you for all the help that you're trying to provide and get this platform established in a better way. So with that, we're going to conclude today. We are a couple of minutes over, but it's all worth it. And we'll see you next week again. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pleasure to be with you.